I hope you are well, and welcome back to another fantastic session of Making Sense Conversations. If you're coming back and have been following us, welcome back. And I hope with every time you come, you keep learning something new that you can keep applying and applying. And if you're here for the first time, let me introduce you. Making Sense is about building a community of financially empowered people. We have decided as Centonomy, we have decided as Kenyans, we have decided as Africans that we've got to become empowered for ourselves. So it's really built on the principles of the book called Making Sense, which I wrote, and I know a lot of you have read it. So I hope you even come with your insights and lessons from the book. And we just take those principles because they cut across and keep building on them. And please let us know where you're tuning in from, wherever you are, Nairobi, Kampala, Kigali, Johannesburg. Please let us know where it is you're tuning from, and welcome. And I am so excited about today's session because it's about something that's very close to my heart. And given the season that we are in, something that I think we all, especially young people, need to start looking at things a lot differently. So the topic for today is youth and money and how to reinvent our mindsets about it. And this has come from a lot of things. We all know what we've gone through. And I think it would be a mistake for any of us to come out of this to start thinking that we're going back to doing things the way we thought they should have been done. We're going back to simply following other people, and especially for you young people listening today, older people, because that's what they are doing. And I'm here to challenge that, because what you've seen, even your parents do, even my generation do, and even all the people that are constantly put in front of us in the media do, is not necessarily correct. Yeah. So today I want us to enter a mindset of how do I look at things differently, especially given the time and environment we are in. I am so excited about my guests for today. Yeah. So I just want to welcome Esther Karaoke. Esther is an amazing person. And she's the head of Centonomy Campus Edition, which is a program really designed for young people, college-going age or university-going age, to start understanding money and breaking those barriers at a very young age. Esther, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm also excited to welcome and meet Sharon Nganga, who is a social entrepreneur with a special knack in community development. Yeah, now, and Sharon, you're going to be telling us a lot more about yourself later. Yeah. But welcome to Making Sense Conversations, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on the platform.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
For those of us who are in the beginning, you might have had us start talking, even though we were alive. So I want to kick off by asking everybody out there, for the older people who are joining, please don't hear youth and money and shut off your screens, because you've still got something to learn. The good thing with money, the principles cut across. And even if you're older than Sharon and Esther, like myself, I'm older, sometimes they know things that we should have started before and can still start. But there's also younger people in your ecosystem. You may have a son, you may have a daughter, you may have a cousin, you may be working with people and your team are young. So you've got to take this conversation to them. But for you who's older than, you're out of your 20s, I want to ask you, what do you wish you did when you were 25 years old? Please start putting them in the chat so we can start talking about what it is you think you should have done when you're 25 years old. It will help someone. And those of you who are in this age, 20s, that I'm talking about, what do you think you should be doing? Yeah, let us just start seeing what is your awareness? What do you think you should be doing or are doing? So I'll talk about myself for a few minutes. If I was talking to my younger self today, there are things I did wrong and there are things I did right. So the things I did wrong, let me start with my failures, things I wish. If I was 25 years, I wish I was in a conversation like this. I wish somebody told me. First of all, I took very long to understand the value of a little money. So I thought when I'm earning a lot of money, when I have 100,000 shillings in my bank account, then I'll take money seriously. So it took challenges, it took being broke for me to start understanding the value of 300 bob. And 300 bob changed my life. And I've written the whole story in my book. But the day I did the calculations, I was spending 300 bob a day. And that's money people spend without thinking. Sometimes people even earn 300 bob a day and spend 300 bob a day. Yeah. We buy coffees, we buy lunch, we buy airtime, we do all sorts of things with 300 bob, especially now because of our phones. Yeah. But the day I did the calculations, these are the principles that whether you're young, whether you're old, will never stop being old. 300 times 30, 9,000 shillings. So I started asking myself, 9,000 shillings a month, what can you do? 9,000 times 12 was 108,000 shillings. My aha moment was that I could go on holiday with 108,000 shillings. So what I needed to break was 300 is little, and also thinking going on holidays for people with a lot of money. No, going on holidays for people who understand what 300 bob a day does. But then you start realizing for that to happen, to go on holiday or do an investment with it, you have to sacrifice the little things you do with 300 bob. I did not save. I did not invest. I took debt on, and not debt to buy an investment. I wish I had a property to talk about, but it was all this was, I was earning money, but keeping it was not, because if money is coming, and I think this is a trap a lot of people find themselves in, is money is coming, especially if you earn a consistent salary, you assume it will always be there. Yeah. There's a time I took a very nice fancy apartment, and now I wonder, why did I need that kind of apartment when I was living alone? I had no kids, so why was I doing it? And I guess it was just that is what I thought you should do when you have money. So just not being conscious of keeping money aside. Yeah. So debt, I took on debt, and debt to buy clothes. I was swiping a credit card. These days, debt is on our phones. It's the mobile credit that we're actually taking. It's the available credit that we're actually taking. But I took debt to finance a lifestyle, and I spent like 3 years paying off that debt. So I did some things right though. Yeah, that I'm going to come to Esther and Sharon about, to dig deeper into people right now in this age. What are they doing right? I started earning money very early. I started earning money when I was university, because I realized that you can do different things. I may have been studying for a business degree, but I started earning money by being in a group that went out performing, dancing and singing. Okay. I don't think I was the most talented person there, but I was part of the group. And I just think one of the things to do right when you're young is to understand that you don't only have one talent. Yeah. You can use multiple talents. I was bad at keeping the money, but I actually explored what could I do? And I think at this age, you have to experiment, you have to explore. So my experiment showed me I'm not a professional singer, but the experiment itself taught me a lot. I wasn't snobbish with the kind of work I did, because I do find that a lot of young people these days are like, no, because I've studied this degree, I should only get this kind of jobs. I have washed dishes. I have worked in factories. I have worked for a rubbish company. I have sold clothes. Yeah. So I wasn't snobbish with work. And I can tell you all those jobs showed me something, whether it's work ethic, having to get up very early in the morning, selling clothes, being in a shop, working in a shop, helped me understand how to talk to customers. Yeah. So don't be snobbish with opportunities. I know there's a perfect opportunity in your mind, but just understand that there are steps to those opportunities. When I needed a car, I bought a very cheap car. That was one of my best decisions, because I think a lot of young people today are spending a lot of their income or future income trying to maintain very expensive lifestyles, which show up sometimes in a car. I bought a very cheap car. People laughed at me because I bought the car for the equivalent of 50,000 shillings, which is $500. Yeah. While this car got me from where I want to go, it was a really, really, really small Suzuki. It practically ran on water. It was so fuel efficient. And later when I sold it at a profit. But that was something that I did right, because I think what I avoided at that time was getting into the trap of what other people think you should have. People did laugh at me for a while, but then I saw them getting into debt about the big cars they had bought. And this was while I was doing my master's when I was in university. So a lot of my story is in the book Making Sense, but I really, really, really want us to talk to our guests today. So I'm going to start with you, Sharon. Yeah. Just tell us about yourself and what you think is your money story, what you think you're doing right, what has worked for you. Just tell us about yourself.
Hi guys, again, my name is Sharon Kate Nganga. I am a TV presenter on K24 TV. I am also an economist and currently a marketer and sales associate at a tech firm based in Nairobi. My money story dates back a while back. I think it started in high school. I'm a scholar of Akili Dada organization, which is a leadership and mentorship incubator for young women. They granted me a full scholarship in high school. So from a very early age, I understood the value of money and why you need to be careful with your money and what can really happen if you're not being careful with how you're handling your own money. So I think that's where my mindset started off from. And unlike a lot of my friends, I didn't have the luxury of doing a lot of the things you're mentioning, like buying coffee and going for raves. Where could I didn't even have the money to buy those tickets. So immediately out of high school, I had a gap year before I joined, because I was called to University of Nairobi to study my bachelor in economics and statistics. Yeah. In that year, I really invested in myself and looked for opportunities where I could intern or just, small jobs, the jobs you're talking about. Because I think because of my background, I never had that mentality of I need a certain kind of job. For me, it was, I need to get by, right? So that's where my journey with money started off from. And so I started working immediately just before I got into university. So by the time I was even getting to campus, I was already earning my own money, right? But the trick is, even with my background of coming from, a humble background and not having what my other friends had, even when I started earning money, which was quite a lot for someone who didn't have the papers, I was just a hustler, honestly. I was just a girl who wanted to make her dreams come true. I still didn't know how to use that money. You'd think that if you're coming from hardship, you'd be, a bit more careful. And I think that's my biggest regret. I'm still in my early 20s, but I'm like, if I'd saved enough money from the time I started working, which is probably 6 years ago. Man, I'd be buying that car that you're talking about. Apartments, going on vacations whenever I want. I'm definitely not at that point anymore, but I definitely understand. And the beauty of it is I took the Centonomy campus edition class and it made a lot of sense. I was like, you know what? I should know how to take care of my money. But here I am being told how to take care of money I've been earning for, I think, 4 to 5 years now. And it's just an aha moment for me. But I think from then on is when I started, because I think the class was late 2018, around October. That's when I then started understanding fully, now take full charge, not just partial charge. Take full charge of my money and take care of it and learn how to multiply it. I might not be where I want to be, but I definitely can see the changes I have made when it comes to making money and multiplying it. Yeah. So I think that's just a background on my money story. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, amazing, Sharon. I just want to pick up on something you've said. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying you didn't have the benefit of having money. So the coffees, the examples I'm giving about the lunch.
Yeah.
So from your experience, because there are a lot of people who would have been in that situation, Sharon, and they say, because of my circumstance or because of where I've come from, because of how I brought up, this is going to be the be all and end all of my life. Yeah. And we found that many people use that card to give themselves, yes, it's hard. And all of us, our circumstances are different, but they use that to stay where they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do, or what happened to you that you're like, yes, this is my circumstance, but this is, as you said, I am a girl with a dream. Yeah. And I'm going for it. And also, it's a lesson to those who don't have that hard circumstances. Also, that when we have the luxury of the coffees, etc. What are we also taking for granted?
Yeah. I think for me, what really drove me was the kind of people I surrounded myself with. Like I said, when I was in high school, I was in this program with Akili Dada, great feminists, women who believe in women taking charge of leadership and living their dreams out. You know, the thing is, like, if you surround yourself for a very long time with people who have a certain goal, you find that goal rubbing off on you without even knowing it.
Yes.
And that's what I say about, like, even being in campus. I think the only reason I kept my level head is because I had two choices. I could hang out with the cool kids and be a cool kid when I didn't have the money, or I could choose to become the cool kid and continue to rise up on the ranks, right?
Yes.
But when I say become the cool kid, is more of take charge of my life and make something of it.
Yeah.
And it's basic math, honestly.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself with people of certain behavior, you'll find yourself being in that behavior. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, you know, we're going through a pandemic, or, you know, this is the circumstance, or, you know what, while you're making those excuses, there are people who are actually working through their circumstances. There are people who have started businesses in the same pandemic you're talking about. There are people, and also, aside from just surrounding myself, I think reading a lot of stories on people who made it. And I've read your book before, and it tells many stories of different people and the circumstances they've come from, right?
Yeah.
And this is where these conversations come from. And each story you follow, you get to see how someone literally fell off the financial ranks, went down to zero, had to rebuild themselves from the ground up. So it's not just about coming from a humble background. This could happen to you even when you're 25, even when you're 40 and 50. But your mentality and how you choose to pick up on that particular circumstance really, really brings out who you really are and what your future is going to look like. For me, I saw all these amazing women who had a similar story, grew up in a slum, but now is the head or a manager at an NGO, or has started their own company, or has written a book that is inspiring people. And I was like, if they can do it, then who am I? Like, no one has said I have to be in that particular circumstance. Yeah. So the people you surround yourself with and the mentality you work with. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. In Centonomy, we like saying, don't ditch the poverty support group. The people who are always like, life is bad. Let's blame the economy. Let's blame the president. We know we don't live in a perfect world. And I think this time has helped us see that no country in the world is perfect. Yeah. But you've got to start saying, what am I going to do myself? And in any environment you're in, as Sharon has said, there is someone who you can aspire, you can find to talk to, who's approached life a different way, and reading. Yeah. So I really love that. And I think for young people, it's not just who you surround yourself with. Sharon talked about reading. Who also are you following on social media? Because we now have all these so-called celebrities. Some of them are doing a fantastic job and they're influencing in the right way. But a lot of times we're following these, we call them influencers and celebrities. But when you look at their lives, when you look at what values they're teaching you, it's not the things that are going to get you forward. So anybody, first of all, who's out there who's promising a fast way to do life, that is one thing young people have to reinvent. It is not going to be quick. You've got to start inculcating the right principles and following the people who are doing things differently, but doing them the right way. So Sharon, thank you so much. Before I come to Esther, there are comments. So guys, so that you know, we have people from all over Kenya. We have people from South Africa. We truly are Pan-African in this. And people have saying they wished they started investing even 30% of their income. They wished they started tracking expenses. They wished they knew how to save more and basically found Centonomy then, which is an excellent place to start off with, Esther. So Esther, first tell us your money story. First, that's who you are and your money story.
Yeah, all right. So my name is Esther again. I'm the head of the Centonomy Campus Edition program. So I got to know about Centonomy because I took the class, or rather Campus Edition, in 2016. And, I think my story now, there's pre-Centonomy Campus Edition and there is after Centonomy Campus Edition. So growing up, I'm blessed to have two different families, and, growing up, I was in both, and both have managed money in very different ways. So I kind of picked up on certain things, but majority of my life, so I was in Mary, I was in Shags, and the basic thing was, you fanya kazi kwa bidii, you go to, work hard, go to university, and then get a job. So I remember now after Form 4, immediately when I came to Nairobi, and where you talked about, choosing the jobs that that you want to do and others that you don't want to do. So my first good encounter with money, I would say, was so before joining campus, I had like 9 months.
Yes.
Before joining campus, so my parents were started a business for onions. And it was in Ngong. I used to stay in Ngong with my cousin. And I remember now being told that I'm the one who's going to be at the stall selling these onions.
Yes.
For me, I don't know. I had been preconditioned, when in China, umepita, you passed, you're going to university, selling onions. Selling onions is not what you should be doing. But I remember how I took that job very humbly. And I can say I made a lot of mistakes, things I'm not very proud of. So I used to be paid per day, and first I didn't save. So where I used to get the money, and then next to where the stall was, I would walk just to the Ngong market, buy some clothes, and then go home. Like clothes that I wasn't even wearing. So that was my very first encounter with money. But then coming to join, then that one was very short-lived. And then so coming to join campus, I remember during the first year I was very, very broke, and I could see the kind of students, the people I was around with. There were people from money, people who were being given a lot of pocket money. So I did get that pressure of, Esther, you should be, you should have money, you should be doing more. And I think when I say being broke, I used to compare myself to them and how they used to live. Our class, so I did biotechnology, and our class had very few people. So comparison is something you could see, across both. And I remember being very broke. And by the time I was getting to second year, I told myself, you know what, Esther, you can't be this broke. You have to, and I wanted to participate in other things that students are doing. And students said, classmates, we are going out somewhere. I wanted to be able to say, I can go out with you and I can pay for myself. So I remember in second year, I pushed my dad to buy me a laptop. And well, I lied that it was for a project in school. But what I really wanted to do was, I started doing academic writing, online writing, and that's how I started earning money. And I didn't quite save from it, but I also knew that, there are many expenses that I wanted to meet, and I started meeting my expenses to the point where my dad called me once and asked me, "Hey, and you've not asked me for money for long. What are you doing?" And him in Nyeri, he was hearing about girls in Nairobi and sponsors. And I remember he asked me very specifically, "Do you have a sponsor?" And I was so embarrassed. And I was so embarrassed. And so, but then now that's how I started earning money. So by the time I was getting to third year, I could partially pay my rent because I was living outside school. And I could cover all my expenses. And then now after third year, when I was going to my internship in Cambridge, that's when I got to know about Campus Edition. So I remember I asked my parents to pay for me Campus Edition, and they didn't understand. What do you mean you're going to learn about money? You're going to be taught about money. There's nothing like that. We're not paying for you. And I really hustled because I used to go for internship Monday to Friday, and that was 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sometimes we would extend, but in the evening I would come and do writing. And then the money I'll get from writing is what I'll pay as the installments that Saturday, and that's how I got to do the program. So, but when I joined Campus Edition, it's as if my mind was so open, because I didn't know, as much as I was doing online writing, I didn't know that there's so many things or so many opportunities that a young person can take. And I remember specifically because our class was at Victoria Plaza, there was a group of guys who used to sit at the back, and they were from Strathmore and USIU. I think they were like a clique, and they attended, Campus Edition as a group. But when the trainers could ask for examples of what you're doing with your money and what are you doing to generate money, you could hear the stories, and I'm like, what? You mean you're in school and you earn that income from baking? There was a student who already had started a clothes shop. Like, I don't know, for some reason it hadn't registered in my mind that young people could get into so many opportunities. And I remember being so jealous of them. And I was even afraid to talk to them, because during break, when we would go for tea, you'll find maybe someone approaching you to just talk to you about something about class, and me, I'll just stay in class because I was so overwhelmed. I was just, I think you guys, you're in your own league, you feel like you're not doing anything. But now that's what opened me up to think, for me as a person, the tech doesn't have to be the only thing I engage in. There are other opportunities. You can change that's where I learned that you can change your career, because I loved science, but I knew at that point I knew that I wasn't going to pursue biotechnology after school. And so now, learning even about savings and investments, I started becoming more cautious, such that I wasn't just earning money. And at that point, I also started working at my cousin's shop in town, selling clothes. And at that point, I knew earning money is not just for survival. It's not just for rent. It's not just for, there is a future as well. You can save, you can invest, you can even help those people around you learn more about money. Even your parents, when you see them making something with money that you don't agree with, you can speak up. And so now those are the things I picked up. And from there, I started even shifting the people I used to surround myself with. And I'm glad I used to be a campus brand ambassador, because in the brand ambassador group, every student, now we were like-minded. We knew about money, and we would challenge each other. We were ambassadors with Gishon, who's in the book. I remember another lady, Florence, who said, so that has been my journey. That's how I came to know about money.
Wow. And I'm going to come back to you, Esther. But I just really want to emphasize one of the things that these are just amazing stories. Both of you have talked about, and both of your journeys represent that I think is one of the things that we must reinvent, and young people must reinvent. It's not going to be one source of income. So one of the things I think with both Sharon and Esther's story we are breaking is, yes, you might have what you're doing in your job, but both Esther and Sharon were saying you discovered you can do so much more. So it's not one talent you have. And the question is for you is, how do you keep discovering those talents and using them? Because those are the ones that are going to create separate source of incomes. Because people have seen a lot of people have seen who are in jobs have seen the problem with having one source of income. You can have your job, but also sell onions. Another thing that is coming is, don't be snobbish with what you're doing. And I just love the way you guys are already bringing in not traditional investments all the time. So it's not always going to be about bonds and stocks, and those are good, but we've got to start looking at what are the opportunities. Esther mentioned Dishon, who is in the book, started off, and young people, just listen to this, started off, first of all, he was challenged by, and if you find yourself in a challenging circumstance, it's supposed to push you forward, not keep you back. He also found himself in challenging circumstances and was also wondering what to do with time. It is not money that's most valuable, it is time, And inspiration, he actually says in the book that inspiration can come from anywhere if you are paying attention and looking for it. That was what he quotes in the book. So he got inspiration from Mad Max, So sometimes inspiration is not from the obvious source, So, and then he saw the bracelet. So he made himself a bracelet. And then people started asking him about the bracelet. Aha, opportunity. So he started making those bracelets, and from an initial investment of 3,000, he got 15,000 shillings. So I'm saying it's not just about traditional investments. You're right, 3,000 is not going to get you too many shares on the stock market, or it's not going to get you a treasury bond, or it's not going to get you a piece of land, yeah? But it can be the bracelet that you make and make 15,000 shillings. Now, I'm not telling you to do bracelets. I'm not now saying bracelets are the new business. I'm just saying you in your life, as Sharon was saying, you've got to go out and start observing what is going on. Listen, yeah? And then he turned that into much more. And then, you know, Esther, you're talking about onions. Dishon started doing tomatoes. And I had a recent conversation with him where he's really active in doing broilers in Kilifi. So this is a young person still in his 20s who just took that path. So from bracelet into agri-business. Imagine that journey, and not being stuck in, I must invest in land. I must invest. So it's not just the traditional investments that are the opportunity. It's what problem can you solve? Like food. There may be a shortage of food. So he's capitalizing on that. So people are saying, you know, go Sharon, go Esther. And I just want to, Sharon, you have used multiple talents, yeah? You have done, from what I read about you, communication, advocacy, media, marketing. So someone listening out there may be like, I've always thought I am this. I am an accountant, yeah? I studied, this is what I studied, yeah? So how do I start discovering the multi dimensions to myself, like the way you did?
Yeah. I think for me, it started off with, and I like the point that you made. Don't be picky as a young person. Don't be picky about opportunities, because I learned that I was good at a lot of these things through the small internships I was doing. There are so many jobs I did for free, just because I wanted to increase my experience. Because like back in the day when I was starting out, the issue was always, do you have experience? Do you have experience on your papers? How many years have you been working? So I was like, you know what? If it means I have to do free gigs so that I can have the experience on my job, why not? And then luckily for me, I'd already started talking to a lot of people I knew, like friends. Like let's say Mama Nani works at a certain company. Do you have an opportunity? I'll come get you coffee if that's what you want. I'll come get coffee for the entire office. Just give me something, you know. And doing a lot of these things, then I'd find myself being given tasks by different people. Hey, can you write a report on this? Can you write a report on that? And I'm like, yeah, I have the time. I write that out. And I remember one lady asking me whether I've ever taken communication classes, because the way I wrote was very different. And she just loved the fact that I could write a whole week's reports, like someone who had been doing it for years. And I think that was the point someone just pointed out, do you know you're really good in communications? And I was like, oh, okay, then let me continue doing it. And then I was offered another job. I was actually offered a job out of that to now start writing reports. And then and since I was doing drama in school, I'd been in drama club and music club in high school. It's a passion I already had to just act and model and do that. And I wondered how these young girls get on TV to do ads, advertisements. I was like, I think I can do that. It's just acting, you know. And I'd do research, like how do you become a commercial model? And then somehow I found an agency, a modeling agency. At this time, my parents had been taking care of my career in acting, but I was like, I think I want someone who actually knows the business. And I'll tell you, I did almost 100 auditions before I got that yes. And at some point, I almost gave up on it. And then I got this really amazing ad that went on to run for 3 years. And from then on, the jobs just kept coming in. I'd be called in for auditions. I'd stand in lines for 6 hours, 8 hours. But when the money racked in, I was like, wow, like this is something I could do on top of my Monday to Friday job, writing out things. This is something else I can do on the side. And then just to show you how opportunities open up when you're not being stringent on something, because I was so ready to learn from other people and from the universe that opportunities were just coming in. From that, going for auditions for modeling gigs, someone saw me somewhere. Because I also used to be the girl who, the girls who do like if you're at a supermarket, the girls who show you what products promotions are going on, like a promotional girl. So I was also doing that. And I'd gone for an audition for one of those jobs because they paid really well. Like in a day, you do a promotion for like 3-4 hours, you're paid like 3,000 for a girl who's not even in university. Yeah, that's a lot of money. And you do this for like 3 days. You do it for 3-4 days, you have 10,000 in a week, and then you get another promotional job the next week. Someone saw me auditioning for one of the promotional jobs and offered me a TV job. He just came up to me and he was like, I think you communicate very well. Have you ever thought of being on TV? And I didn't believe I could do it because I didn't have the media training, because also this notion of African countries, you have to have certain papers to do certain things, right? So we are indoctrinating our youth to believe that if you haven't studied for a particular thing, you cannot be part of it. But my story is of a girl who defied all the odds, no papers, no qualification, and still you're getting jobs that people who have studied for so long aren't getting. I refused the TV job, but I asked the man if I could intern for a while, for 3 months, and be under a TV presenter just to see what they do. And I asked if I could be like her PA. I'd call the guests, I would schedule her things, and then somehow I started scripting her shows because of my communications, what I'd been learning the previous year, like writing out reports. I started scripting her questions and writing storylines for her. So then I discovered, I actually have a thing for script writing. Like, I think I'm good at production. Then I started interning for the video team, the cameramen, because I was just like, I just wanted to learn, honestly. In a year, I learned how to be a cameraman, a sound lady, a script writer, and I learned how to be a TV presenter. At this point, I'm not choosing what's happening. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. Just I'm still modeling. I'm still doing the script writing. I'm still being an intern for the TV presenter. And then finally, 3 months later of interning, the man said, no, you're too good to be behind the scene. I want you to be the face of a show. Did that for 2 years. And then somehow someone saw me presenting on my show at a very small station that people didn't know, and then called me for an audition at K24 TV. So not choosing, I just give me the job, give me the opportunity. I want to learn from it. And then from there, all these opportunities started raking in. It's so sad that I get to see people who put themselves through years of education. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I also went through 5 years of math school, and I love economics. It's opened certain doors for me as well. But also, don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself to my papers say I am this and that. That's what I'm going to stick to. And also with this COVID times, if there's one thing I have learned, I feel like I've still been limiting myself. Like now I'm asking myself, what else can I do? Can I start a business? Because I've never felt like I'm a business person, but you never know when you're going to lose a job. You never know when things aren't going to be the same as before, and you have to keep reinventing yourself. Even at this age, I'm still wondering what can I do, and looking for opportunities. I feel like young people don't look for opportunities as much as they should. Just Googling, the fact that we're in the 21st century, you have data, you have phones, laptops, just a phone, and you can check what opportunities UN has for young people right now, what opportunities are popping up in the corporate scene. There's so many internships I'm seeing flying by. Like just today morning, I got so many notifications. UNESCO is asking for youth to talk about water and youth change. Do young people know that this is something they can be a part of? I know so many other corporates that are looking for interns even during a pandemic. Are you putting yourself forth and asking for these opportunities. So yeah, I guess that's basically a short story of
amazing. I picked up so many things, but I just want to start from the end. Are you consciously looking for the opportunities? And are people realizing the face of the opportunity has changed? It may not appear as a banking job. It may not appear in a multinational company. That has got to be stopped being the definition of I've made it. Yeah. Do not get stuck on what you studied is what you must do. And also, if you are not studying, it doesn't mean you can't go as far as anybody else. It's about research. Even Dishon is a story of someone who didn't take the traditional education route as well. So education has its merits, but didn't take the formal education route. But he possibly would have never learned to do what he's doing in the degree that he was studying. And I know, Esther, you are also a person who's gone the non-traditional route. What you studied is not what you are doing. So I want you to speak to that so that we can break this box of, oh, I studied accounting. My only opportunities are in an accounting job and in a very big audit firm. Yeah, that may be the route for somebody, but it's not the route for everybody. You can be the accountant who starts selling onions, and we've got to stop seeing that as a downgrade. Yeah, just because you have a qualification and are still holding on to it. And I loved, Sharon, what you also said. It takes 100 try. It took 100 auditions to get the one. But once the one came, you built on it. It was a domino effect. It led to something, So if you had given up in the 99 tries you did, like many of us are sitting, we have given up. You're told no once, you're like, you go back and sit at home. That's ridiculous. Nobody has ever made it with just one try. Keep trying, because I think fortune favors the persistent. Yeah, the ones who are gonna keep trying. So Esther, please also just help us break up that and what you studied and how you ended up doing what you're doing. And Esther, because of also the unique role you have at Centonomy, as somebody who's in charge of walking people through this journey, what do you find, Esther, are the things that hold people back? They may be the ones who even tell you, no, I don't want to come to Centonomy because of this. And what have you noticed about the people who's, Sharon is one of your customers, yeah? The people who, what are the key things, even just two things you notice with the people who come and switch their minds?
One of the things that makes people not advance is inability to learn, or rather, not inability to learn, not having that willingness to learn. And it comes from when I was doing biotech, I didn't know marketing. I didn't know social media. I didn't know all that. The only thing I would say I had done is, in relation, like I had just sold clothes in a shop, and I knew how to talk to, clients in the shop and make them buy because we had targets per week, and I wanted that commission. But doing biotech, I'm grateful that I did biotech, because as much as it's a hard course, it teaches you discipline, especially when it comes to studying. You have to be very disciplined. When people say you go out, you have to be willing to just sit back and go to the library and study. And that's the discipline I've tried, to carry on to my role right now. So when I did biotechnology, and I love science, I still read a lot about science. But when I went for my internship at Cambridge and now got to be involved in the practical work, that's when I knew I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to be in the lab. In fact, the fumes were a lot for me. Like just so many things. I just learned that, what, I don't think this is what I'm going to do after school. But I'm glad at that point when I was realizing that I was doing campus edition, and that's the time I was realizing, you can engage in other opportunities, but you have to be willing to learn. And so even when I was taking up, being a brand ambassador, I knew at some point that, what, I want to learn how Centonomy works. And even being a brand ambassador, I remember that time where I emceed during the cross-campus hangout, which was very impromptu, hadn't prepared. I was just thrown into the mix, 10 minutes into the event. But I told myself, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen, really, if I just put myself out there and I learn more? And during one of the hangouts, it should be towards 2017, towards end of, like around September 2017, I had just graduated had left the job at my cousin's shop, and I was doing like full-time online writing, which was enough to support me and rent and all other expenses. But when I came at the hangout, I just had that moment where I realized, you know what, I should apply for an internship. I'm not going to do academic writing forever. So let me just apply for an internship. And I said, you know, if I get it, it's okay. If it's not, maybe there is another opportunity, but I just have to put myself out there, and I have to try, and I have to ask. And I remember actually, I didn't send a CV. That time I didn't even have a written CV. Instead of sending a CV, I wrote a value proposition, and I sent the value proposition of what I would come and do. And what I will try to improve, because being a brand ambassador, I'd seen a few things maybe that I could improve, and ideas that I just had. So I wrote the value proposition, and it was shared. I sent to Wendy, who's now my supervisor, and shared with Mr. Isaka. And you know, I didn't get an answer straight up. So I waited for some time, waited. Hi, nothing is coming through. So I just wrote another email. So now I started writing emails and copying everyone I knew involved, because good thing I had the email addresses. And then I started insisting until I got called for an interview by Mr. Itaka, and he got to interview me. And it was such a short interview, because his main concern was, you know, whether I'll go back to biotech or I'm in Centonomy for the long term. And you see, at that point, I realized, you know, as young people, sometimes when you think about internships, we don't value that it's a learning opportunity.
Yeah,
we want the money, and maybe if we see something is not happening money-wise, we just leave. You know, young people leave, and you've got to take it as a learning opportunity and see, you know, maybe I'm not being paid because I got an unpaid internship, but maybe I'm not being paid. However, what can I learn? What networks can I improve my network such that I get to know this person who may open doors for me, whether I get accepted or not. And when I joined Centonomy, I can tell you, in the role, I knew nothing. Like, I was so zero. I was like literally at zero. But I told myself, you know what? I'm just going to tag along with Wendy and take that opportunity to learn in every single thing. Now I started seeing, you know, I could see the gaps. And for me, I told myself, you know what? When I see a gap in something, I'm going to try and fill it. And I would Google almost everything. I didn't even know social media marketing, because I thought people just post things and voila, you get clients. Like, you just post on Facebook and that's it. And that's when I started doing research and learning more about it. And you know, when I had an idea, I would do it. If it's social media, I'll tell then the head of PR and comms was Faith, and I'll tell her I have this idea, and Faith will just tell me, run with it, go with it, do what you want. Like, I like the autonomy that was given, that if you have an idea, run with it. And that's one of the things I like at Centonomy. So that's how I transitioned. But every day I would make a point of learning one more thing about my job, one more thing that can improve my job. And even when I was subscribing to, there's a site I follow, Flipboard, that, so on Flipboard, you can choose the topics you want to follow. At that point, I knew I need skills in marketing, I need skills in social media, I need to learn about entrepreneurship, I need to learn more about youth empowerment and what, you know, the needs for young people. And those are the topics that I put there every day, read and learn. So that's how I transitioned. I'll say on the backside, for my parents, it wasn't easy, and they didn't accept that I've done biotechnology and I'm moving to a very different field. In fact, even up to now, they don't quite understand my job, but I try every day to just help them understand little bit by little bit. But when you know what you're passionate about and you know what you want to do and you can see where you are going, stick with it and take opportunity to learn. So coming back to your last question, you asked me what are the things that I see with young people, you know, that things that prevent them from advancing. It's just not being able, not willing to learn, and listening to so many noises around, like people saying you can't do it, no, you shouldn't do it. If you feel that you want to change your career and you know maybe you're passionate about finance as opposed to maybe you're studying science, go to that finance, learn, because we are also blessed that we have Google. You can literally search for anything. You can do online courses, get to learn more. And and not just about your career, about everything else, and even about money, because I've seen people who, are excelling in their career, but when it comes to money management, they're not paying attention to that. So how do you pay attention when you're still young and start early? Yes.
Okay, excellent. I mean, there's so much. Esther, the aha moment I've taken from you is don't write CVs. The day of writing a CV, my degree, I've done this, I don't know, my hobbies, I think I've seen some CVs even with hobbies there, are over. What is your value proposition? Yeah, and that's how Esther got into Centonomy. Yeah. What is your value proposition, and how are you going to help that organization you want to work for solve a problem? Because we are all on this world to solve a problem. So if you're not just applying for a job so you can earn money to get a salary, you want to go solve a problem. Yes, you will earn money. And like Sharon and Esther is talking about, and what we do in the Campus Edition and Centonomy 101 programs is teach you how that can actually become wealth creation. So to just wind up, to put everything we've been saying, what Sharon and Esther have been saying, into numbers, so that if you're out there, you understand when we're telling you start early, look for opportunity, diversify your income stream, stop going after traditional investments, don't be stuck onto what your degree has said, or stuck into the fact that you don't have a degree, whichever way, is this calculation. In Campus Edition and Centonomy, we teach about time value of money. And Sharon, you even said your advantages is you got a very early understanding of the value of money. Now we are now putting time into it. If a 25-year-old invests 300 shillings per day, that is going to be about 9,000 shillings per month, and that's 109,500 per year. Okay. Now, if in 5 years, and with this, for this calculation, we just took a very basic investment. So for example, today, if you go and invest in something called a treasury bill, but we're telling you go outside traditional investments, this is what will happen. In 5 years, just 300 shillings per day, when you're 30 years old, it will be 650,000 shillings. Not many 30-year-olds today have 650,000 shillings in their bank, correct? Yeah? In 10 years, when you're 35, it will be 1.7 million shillings. In 15 years, it will be almost 3.5 million shillings when you're 40 years old. I'm over 40, and 3.5 million shillings can definitely help my life. Yeah. So also don't say because I'm 25, I'm going to be 25 forever. One day you'll be 30. One day you will be 35 and be looking at school fees. Yeah. One day you will be 40, and that 300 bob, only 300 bob a day would have helped you. Now, if you delay, and you start at 30, to get the same amount by the time you're 45, just like this 25-year-old, you can't get away with 300 shillings per day. You have to do 540 per day just to end up in the same time with the same. But the 20 years was for the 25 years old was 6.2 million shillings. So if you decide, I'm going to start later because we like delaying things. When you're 30, you'll have to do 540 shillings per day for the same result. You procrastinate and go after lifestyle, buying big cars, following the socialites or celebrities who are telling you spend, not reading, wasting your time. You start when you're 35. You will have to do over 1,000 shillings a day to get to the same point. Yeah. Okay. Now you wait even longer and you start when you're 40 years old. You will have to do 2,800 shillings a day. Can you see how it's becoming more and more difficult just to get to the same point? So this is just to say everything we've been saying is start now with what you have. If you have time, start. If you have an idea, start. And just be willing to experiment. Yeah, Esther and Sharon have both brought out, start this, then you'll see. Because some things that you are not going to learn in a textbook, it's really, really only by seeing. Yeah. So before we wind up, Esther, maybe you can first I'll ask Sharon, before Esther, you take us through Campus Edition. Sharon, what do you think after going through Campus Edition or starting to engage with money early? Just 2 things that you're like, my aha, this is how I broke my mindset.
I think my aha moment was the importance of money and investing early. I think we're in a world where, like you said, young people, we're living such a fast-paced life.
Yes.
we never take time to realize, how much money you have to save to get to a certain amount.
Yeah.
And for campus edition, that's what it made me realize. It made me understand what loans are, why it's taken me so long and so much money to repay all these things, what gambling can do, what investing can actually do for my life, right?
Yeah.
And also, like, in terms of even the simple things, you'd think you know what budgeting is until a professional like really breaks it down for you, and you realize I don't think I was doing it right in the first place. Okay. And now, like, what I took from that is I take accountability for every single amount of money that comes in. Something I make sure I do is save, the same way you are tithing diligently, or paying your rent or your school fees or whatever your money is going to, is the same way you should make it a standard note in your mind that I need to set aside a certain amount, no matter how little it is, for a crazy time. Because honestly, who thought COVID was gonna happen this year? Now I've come across a lot of people and young people who are freaking out because you don't have a cushion, you don't know where to start, the job markets are failing, there's recession after COVID actually, comes to a slowdown, right? But then, like, I found especially with my learning from campus edition, like, I haven't freaked out that much. It's something I've been doing for the past 2 years since the classes, and somehow I feel in control of everything that's happening. Amazing. And that's something I'm so thankful for. Like, I never want to be in a moment where the world is ending and you have no resources whatsoever. You spent it on clubbing or expensive dates or expensive things that honestly don't even matter now. So I think my aha moment was what the value of money. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Esther, maybe you can tell people how they can register for Campus Edition and what Campus Edition is about in just a minute or so.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Centonomy Campus Edition, we are doing season 29, and we are glad that we've come this far, and we've had so many students attend this program, and we are always amazed by the impact that this program has. And just going through the course modules, have the first module on principles of personal financial management, and you get to learn the basics, how your spending habits, what are your spending habits, what is budgeting, how can you incorporate that into your daily routine, how do you budget, how do you at the end of the month, let it not be that you just spent money without knowing where it went. Where it went, and you can make improvements in the next month. Then you learn the time value of money and debt that you talked so much about. You've got to know how, when you're setting your goals in 5 years, don't just set a goal, but put the money aspect in it. Where we talked about, our goals are, our goals, are driven by, the things, the money that you're setting every day, whether it's savings, whether it's investments. And that goes into, the third module on savings and investments, where you learn the different investment options that can get into as a young person. How do you build that savings discipline? Even when you get that money, when you save, how are you investing? Then you also learn about entrepreneurship. If you want to get into business, that's good. And then also get to learn about career planning if you're a career-oriented person. And it's a 6 weeks course, which season 29 starts tomorrow. They still send to register via my email, esther@centonomy.com.
Oh, excellent. And I know if we don't, even though we do have makeup classes, so even though you can even start the week after, because we have makeup classes. So please get in touch with Esther if you do want the classes. Yeah. So just to wind up today's conversation, we have learned so much about look at investments differently. Just doesn't have to be the traditional investments. Have the right conversation. Start small. Do your research and be willing to learn. Go for the opportunity. Remember, Sharon, it took 100 tries. Don't give up. Don't write CVs, write value proposition. And you can continue reading my story and the story of a lot of people who've turned things around with their finances, including Dishon, who we've talked about a lot today, is a beneficiary of the Campus Edition program, and we'll have him on this segment at some point. So you can get my book at by calling the number on screen, and you can get it delivered to you. If you're not calling from Kenya, just add +254 and go straight to the 715. You can get it online, Amazon, Raffo Books, Nuria Online Bookshop. And if you're here in Nairobi, you can get it in bookshops at Yaya Center, Africa Book Hub, and Prestige. So once again, thank you very, very much for joining Making Sense. We will be taking a 2-week break because we want to now figure out what the next part of the conversation should be. We want to go back, and because when we do come back, we want our conversations. We are done about saying how do we survive COVID. We are done with that conversation. So it's really about, this is the start of the kind of conversations that we'll be having about how do we need to reinvent and reset. First, ourselves and how we see ourselves, because when we don't see ourselves properly, we don't see the opportunities, yeah? How do we need to start thinking about money in this new world we are going into, business in this new world we are going into? And those are the kind of conversations that we're going to have, conversations that take you forward, conversations that keep empowering you. So we need your help. So in the 2 weeks that we are on break, really coming up with amazing content for you. Please tell your community, tell your friends, because for us, it's all about building a very financially empowered continent. But once again, thank you so much, Sharon and Esther. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you on 10th of July, which is when we will be resuming the Making Sense conversations. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Bye.